Okay, Ray, now you've got my attention. Can you All right, and hello and welcome to another episode of With Enough at Prep Time. I'm your host, the Nerd Man, and we have some new news today that I wanted to share, even though I didn't want to be following this case too much more. But this one I do want to share because I have a little bit of insight into this, so I thought it might be interesting to share with you guys. So just recently, a new member of the Justice League has come out to support Ray Fisher. And a lot of the naysayers of Ray Fisher's claims, including me, who I was a naysayer, I'm starting to put it this way. I'm never going to support the way Ray Fisher did this. I think it was absolutely stupid the way he went about this, with the constant tweets with nothing in them. It looked like cancel culture, and I can't support that. I can't support trying to railroad a person on social media without giving them due process. Not going to happen. You're never going to find me on this channel. I'm sorry, I just had some technical issues there. As I was saying, you're never gonna find me on you're never gonna find me ever on YouTube or anywhere else defending what Ray Fisher did and how he's done this. But given the preponderance of support, which is not evidence, and it's still innocent until proven guilty, there are some things that I am starting to see, some patterns that I am starting to see that I'd like to kind of share with you guys. So let's go to the first article by Screen Rant. I want to use the Screen Rant article because I think it's useful in a sense. I think it's really useful in a sense because it gets everything down, and it also gets what people are how the naysayers are looking at this story. So Okay, good. So here we go. So it says Justice League's Iris West actress supports Ray Fisher. Right? So I'm going to skip a bit to over the last few months, Cyborg and Ray Fisher stated that his experience with Justice League reshoots and those in charge of the film was quite toxic. He originally called out Joss Whedon's abusive behavior on set and called for Warner Brothers to investigate what really happened during the additional photography. Fisher has since said former DC Films head Jeff Johns threatened his career and that current DC Films head Walter Hamada tried to silence his claims. Warner Brothers went as far as to issue a statement that Fisher hasn't cooperated with their efforts, but he provided proof that this wasn't the case. More recently, Justice League and Aquaman star Jason Momoa became the first main cast member to publicly support Ray Fisher. Now that one other person involved with Justice League has supported Fisher's claims, Clemons has done the same. In a new post, she has said she has retweeted the I stand with Ray Fisher. Fisher then shared his excitement for the support on Twitter by sharing a screenshot of Clemons' post where she says, I stand with Ray Fisher. Accountability over entertainment. He says, let's go, accountability over entertainment. Now, part of the glee of him, of how he's accepting the support is kind of weird. I would have thought you'd take a much more serious tone to all of this as you're building up evidence, but fine. Now, one of the things I want to say about Kiersey Clemons right off the bat is I'm a huge fan, loved her in Dope. She's a great actress, and her support lends some kind of credence to what I'm starting to build the theory of, which is that Ray Fisher is trying to suggest that there was some kind of racial animus on set. Not that there was any, that's the angle he's going with trying to make this an actionable case. That something was going on where racial tensions were building up on set. And I think that is probably why he started this during the whole Black Lives Matter movement. So why do I think this? So first of all, I want to say that Kiersey Clemons clearly has a invested interest and really doesn't stand to lose anything by hashtagging I stand with Ray Fisher, and stands to gain everything. Because even if Ray Fisher goes down with the ship and the rats and everything, he sinks into the sea forever, a distant memory, in the once nuanced and fabled tales of the Snyder Cut. Kiersey Clemons, that's not likely to happen to by just saying I stand by Ray Fisher. But what it is likely to do is boost her chances, of being recast in the Flashpoint movie and continuing to be Iris West. Warner Brothers does not want that smoke. I bet you, within the next week, they're on the phone to her. If she was going to be recast, or Iris West was not going to be in the Flashpoint, which we didn't hear much of it. You bet your damn butt cheek she will now. And this was a very, very smart move by her to just support this, because no matter what it happens, Warner Brothers, if they let her go or she isn't in the Flashpoint now, people are really going to be pissed off. The Snyder Cut fans are going to be going at them. Everyone loves Kiersey Clemons in the role. She looks wonderful. I'm just so glad that that the Flash actor Ezra Miller is gay because, you know, that means I won't be so jealous during their kissing scenes. But she's a cutie, but she's not just a cutie, she's an incredible actress. And I really looked forward to her performance as Iris West. I thought she was going to bring a level of spunk and, a level of, she was going to bring vitality to the character in a way that other actresses probably wouldn't. Would have made her more cutesy, would have made her just damsel in distress. She's got a real strength underlying her performances. So I think this was a smart move. If Kiersey Clemons doesn't know anything about this case, and doesn't know anything, no matter what, the way she's used this is brilliant, because in the end, she can't lose. Everyone's going to want her. People who don't like Ray Fisher are going to want her or don't believe Ray Fisher are still going to want her in the Flashpoint movie. People who do like her are going to want her in the Flashpoint movie. She cannot lose from this. So I think that, hats off to her if that's the case. But my personal opinion is there is a very good chance that she does know something about the reshoots. So let me finish off what this article has to say. So Clements' support of Ray Fisher is commendable, but it currently isn't clear how familiar she is with the Justice League reshoot situation. There were no signs of Iris West being part of the film's extensive reshoots, so Clements shouldn't have dealt with Whedon at all. The lack of Iris in the theatrical cut should be a sign that she wasn't involved in the additional photography, as Warner Brothers and Whedon likely wouldn't bring her back for a small scene and then not use it. With that in mind, if Clemons did experience unprofessional behavior during her time with Justice League, it's more likely to have been from Jeff Johns or producer John Berg. Since Clemons hasn't provided any details about what she might have experienced, any insight she has to support Fisher's claims won't be revealed until a later date, but her support comes just days after Momoa and puts even more people involved with the film to some degree publicly in Fisher's corner. Fisher has had multiple individuals prepared to speak to investigators about Justice League, so Clemons and Momoa may just be the first of many to come forward, and now with their support. So the interesting thing about this is, as they're saying, Kiersey Clemons was not, oh, by the way, give me a high five if you like the channel, if you support the channel, and do ensure that you press that like button and subscribe for more content. But the interesting thing that happens here.
Young man's own family and a social worker who knew him had.
So the interesting thing that happens here, that is very, very important, is that, the claim that Kiersey Clemons wouldn't have been on set to experience abuse from Josh Whedon. So it would have been very, very unlikely that she would have had any experience of Josh Whedon whatsoever. So why would she be standing by Ray Fisher? Now, I really hope that Jeff Johns survives this, because he's so talented. As long as he hasn't done anything really off, the rails bad. But this is starting to look really bad for Jeff Johns, because Clemons' only experience, I think, unless she did come on set to speak to Jeff Johns, unless she was on set with Josh Whedon and he just didn't use her, or Josh Whedon called her up and said something silly about Iris West. I don't understand how she would have had any experience with Josh Whedon, really. But I will say this, Josh Whedon was under a lot of pressure to bring this down by Warner Brothers executives, not by, not of his own volition, but to bring this film down to the 2 hour mark. So I can't see how he would have felt that he could have had time to put Kiersey Clemons in. Therefore, I don't know she had any experience of him. And I do think she has a very good vested interest in supporting Ray Fisher, therefore, because, you know, she's going to be in this Snyder Cut. And I think she's trying to build support. You know, I don't think this. I'm just saying this could be one of her angle on this, that she wants to build support for her, you know, her return as Iris West. And also, this is very important as well, that the people who have thus far supported Ray Fisher, you know, Aquaman aside, so Kiersey Clemons, she does have an invested interest. So, you know, one might say that, you know, again, it's not as credible, you know, as one of the other main Justice League members coming out. But what I will say to the main Justice League members now is, if there was abuse on set, Gal Gadot and you know, Henry Cavill, and all of you guys, if there was abuse and there was racial stuff going on, come out and support Ray Fisher, because this is, you know, this is a terrible thing to support. If that was what was going on behind the scenes and you saw stuff like that. Gal Gadot, you're Wonder Woman, for God's sake, on screen. You have to come out and support these guys if the unfair treatment was going on. Don't just think of your own careers. You know, if people like Jeff Johns and Josh Whedon are abusive behind, and John Berg are abusive and racially prejudiced behind the scenes. Because that's the sense of what I'm getting from Ray Fisher now, and he's trying to build up a case to ensure that he's got enough to, you know, to support it. So the reason why I'm saying the rest of this now is I want to take you back to, take you back in history, to a time when a very, very talented director named Rick Fukuyama, a very, very talented director named Rick Fukuyama, who just recently helmed episodes of The Mandalorian, which were really that were really actually critically well received. So this is a very, very fantastic, fresh director, obviously an ethnic minority director, who was in charge of doing the Flash movie. And I've got to tell you, at the time, Rick Fukuyama, if anyone's ever seen the movie Dope, please go and watch it if you haven't seen it. A wonderful movie, and it hit all the sensibilities of what I want to see in a DC movie and what I want to see in a Flash movie. It had a great sense of humor that was a little bit dark, a little bit cheeky, but he also had a very light, hopeful aesthetic that fit in with the fun of a character like the Flash. So I was really, his project was the one I was looking most forward to. I thought Patty Jenkins and Rick Fukuyama were going to be the two directors that really, really solved the issue of the DCEU and what tone it should be in. They were going to prove that you don't have to be Marvel to make great superhero movies. And I still believe that to this day. I wish I would delay the Flashpoint movie again if they could bring Rick Fukuyama back, because I really think he had probably a great idea for just an origin introduction to the character that was going to be a bit street, a bit hip, and a bit cheeky. And I think it would have been a really great movie. So, okay, so Rick Fukuyama, if you remember, was one of Zack Snyder's guys, right? And he was working on a project where, you know, probably Zack Snyder had a lot more input into the screenplay. But it was Rick Fukuyama who actually was writing the screenplay as well for The Flash. Now, he separated with DC over creative differences, as I mentioned before. Even though I was as I said, him and Patty Jenkins, the two movies was The Flash and Wonder Woman that I was most excited by, as somebody who didn't like what Snyder was doing with the Snyderverse. But Snyder, one good thing was he was giving other directors creative freedom to do what they want with their characters, and I thought Rick Fukuyama was going to bring it home. Now, if we want to go back, as I said, back in time, I had to look this up. When was Rick Fukuyama told that he should separate from, or that he was off the Flash movie? Now let's go back to the release date of Batman v Superman. So we have a release date of March 2016. Bad reception of Batman v Superman. Probably Jeff Johns stewing over the fact of what Zack Snyder has done to Superman. Doesn't like it. Thinks it's a terrible, terrible, version of the character. Probably doesn't like Batman killing either too much. Warner Brothers is getting very, very, they're getting very, very uncomfortable with the critical reception of these movies, and they pivot from the vision that Zack Snyder wanted of the kind of creative freedom of the directors to what Jeff Johns and John Berg want to do. And what it seems to me is their easy answer, and it hurts me to say this because I love Jeff Johns so much, but their easy answer was to make everything more like Marvel. Now, where I would say that I disagree with that version of events, and I think Walter Hamada even wanted to do it more so, but where I'd say I disagree with that version of events is looking at Shazam. When I look at Shazam, I see a movie that is very distinctly DC. When I look at Aquaman, I see a movie that was very distinctly DC, and Jeff Johns had his fingerprints all over that. I don't like Aquaman very much, but I do like very much Shazam. But it seems that all the projects that Jeff Johns, where it was his characters, where he probably liked what was going on with the scripts, he greenlit. So he greenlit Aquaman, which was a mess of a movie, an absolute mess of a movie. Should have had another. I can bet any money that the script for The Flash was better than the script for Aquaman, because everything is better than the script for Aquaman. Aquaman needed another script rewrite. It needed another script rewrite badly. Shazam, excellent. Did an excellent job. But hey, you can't take away from it. Aquaman did $1 billion in the box office, so that's a win for Jeff Johns. Whichever way you look for. Critical reception of Shazam. Shazam's a really smart script. Everything, he was deeply involved in that. Shazam's a character that he loves very deeply, since he was the one who wrote both the Aquaman and Shazam New 52 reboots. So I'm sure he wanted the Shazam and Aquaman movies to get greenlit. It is very telling that he had only creative differences with Rick Fukuyama, who would have been the only person not basing his work on Jeff Johns' work, right? So he would have been coming up with an original concept, which was probably more in line with the tone of what Zack Snyder was doing. So anyway, piecing together this little investigation, so we have what happened there. Can everyone still hear me? Let's look if we can. Oh, I'm having a little. That's weird. Okay, I'm having a little bit of problems with my ear, so I'm just gonna hope that everything is going fine. But let's just go back to the dates. So we have a date on the completion of the release date was March 19th, 2016. Getting a little feedback. Yeah, so let me just check something very quickly before I continue this stream. Hello? 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 Okay. All right. So it's kind of okay. So as I was saying, please do give me a high five, like, and subscribe if you're enjoying the content. Sorry, I'm having just a couple of technical issues here. So the release date of Batman v Superman is March 19th, 2016 to 25th, 2016. Has a horrible critical reception. Probably Jeff Johns, as I said, wasn't happy, and he wanted to use this to take out Snyder. Okay, so he wanted to remove everything Snyder probably from production. Now I hope, because I really, really like you, Jeff Johns, that you didn't use any racially insensitive stuff to get rid of these guys. I'm begging, hoping that you didn't, because Kiersey Clemons coming out with Ray Fisher, and the fact that a lot of, when you look at Joss Whedon, a lot of the characters that were taken off of the Justice League, that were cut from the Justice League, were the people of color. In the movie, were cut out. However, one could argue that really they just kept the main stars in that 2-hour movie, so that isn't that telling. The main stars being, the main Justice League and, some other guys. But, for instance, Flash's dad was in there, whereas Iris West, Kiersey Clemons was not. And there was another Asian actor as well who was taken off. So I'm really hoping that Jeff Johns didn't do that, and that this is more of a misunderstanding that has some more weight to it now that, Kiersey Clemons is coming out. But I wanted to read this. At what point did Mr. Famuyiwa leave the Flash project? Because he was the director who was the person who cast Kiersey Clemons, and they were going to start production of the Flash that March. So the Flash, Warner Brothers' big screen take on the speedster superhero, has lost its director. Rick Fukuyama, who made waves with his coming-of-age Sundance sensation Dope, has parted ways with the studio over creative differences, the Hollywood Reporters learned. And I'm telling you, the Dope, if you could, I just wish he was in this, because he was perfect for, if you watch Dope, for, the tone for a Flash movie is perfect. Not too Marvel as well. And I wanted to mention one thing about the Marvelization of DC after Snyder started leaving. Now, as I said, I think you can defend Jeff Johns in terms of Aquaman and Shazam. They weren't too much like Marvel, but they were very, very much light-hearted. But what you can say is that he started looking and eyeing up people like Joss Whedon, who had previously been in Marvel, to come in and do DC movies. Just like Walter Hamada, instead of having some kind of imagination on the Suicide Squad of who can continue and make the Suicide Squad a movie that all of us will enjoy rather than just Marvel fans. You know, there were fans, a lot of fans of the original Suicide Squad. It did turn over a profit. He goes and gets a Marvel director. For The Flash, they wanted another Marvel director before, which was, they wanted a Marvel writer or something like that, until Ezra Miller stepped in, and everyone started bitching at Ezra Miller for doing this, for stepping in when the guys who did Game Night and Spider-Man Far From Home wanted to take over the project. And I was not interested in seeing that movie at all. Although I like Game Night a lot, I really don't like their Spider-Man Far From Home, and I didn't want Flash to be anything like the Flash movie, to be anything like that. So, of all the people, Famuyiwa, I'm even Nigerian and I can't pronounce it, Famuyiwa was the best, I think, in terms of the original material. But even if you were going to take over, why are you looking to Marvel directors, Marvel people who've done successful things over in Marvel, to make doppelganger movies in the DC universe? I think that's a bad idea. Your best successes have been with taking original directors with original ideas that were distinctly DC. And I worry about the Suicide Squad after now putting together the picture of what has been happening behind DC, because I think it's the Marvelization of DC and Jeff Johns spearheading some of that, and some of the DC execs getting greedy and wanting to do what Marvel were doing, which caused a lot of the creative problems. The problem with DC was Snyder. I'm sorry. That was the problem with DC. He doesn't make great, films that everyone loves and everyone gets behind, and he's not a great narrative storyteller. Famuyiwa is a good storyteller. He is a good director. He can tell a coherent story, and he should not have been punished because you don't like Zack Snyder anymore. Zack Snyder's films are separate. Just because Zack Snyder chose him does not mean he was a bad director for that project. I think he was a fantastic director for the project. But anyway, I'm getting off pace. So Famuyiwa has been on board since June development of the project, even overseeing the casting of Kiersey Clemons and Billy Crudup in key roles. The movie, which is to star Ezra Miller as Barry Allen, the fastest man alive, was in production as it headed towards a March 2017 start date with a release date of March 16th, 2018. The departure of Famuyiwa will likely mean the delay of the movie starts of production and release date, as Miller has a commitment in July. So let's see, just to make sure of the date here. So the date here is October 31st. This was after the backlash to the Batman v Superman. This was after Jeff Johns took over as head creative officer with John Berg, that they were the ones who got rid of Famuyiwa. And here's how we know this is certainly a fact, that it was not Zack Snyder who had creative differences with Famuyiwa, it was Jeff Johns and John Berg. So when I was approached by Warner Brothers and DC about the possibility of directing The Flash, I was excited about the opportunity to enter this amazing world of characters that I loved growing up, and still do to this day, Famuyiwa said Monday in a statement to THR. He added, "I was also excited to work with Ezra Miller, who is a phenomenal young actor. I pitched a version of the film in line with my voice, humor, and heart, so it was going to have some humor and heart to it, which is what Dope has. While it's disappointing that we couldn't come together creatively on the project, I remain grateful for the opportunity. I will continue to look for opportunities to tell stories that speak to fresh, generational, topical, and multicultural point of view." Look at that, fresh, generational, topical, and multicultural point of view. So this was going to be something, a really, really fresh take on the character. I think it would have been like a street, like started off as a street level Flash who's really in a community, like a multicultural, vibrant community, and he would have made Central City its own character like that, because Central City in the Flash mythos has always been a fun, uplifting, bizarre, bonkers city, which is exactly like the happenings of what was going on in Dope. And I could have seen Ezra Miller playing that more man of the people kind of Flash, you know, the man of the people superhero. I wish he had the opportunity to do this. I think he would. I think we would have got some really interesting casting for his supporting cast. So he says, "I wish Warner Brothers," and here's the kicker. "I wish Warner Brothers, DC, John Berg, Jeff Johns, and Ezra Miller all the best as they continue their journey into the Speed Force." So I wish DC, John Berg, not Diane Lane, not Zack Snyder, not, you know, a number of other people, but John Berg, Jeff Johns, and Ezra Miller. So that means, by him pointing out John Berg and Jeff Johns, they are the ones he had creative differences with. And they were probably salty because they were mad at, at Zack Snyder, and just wanted to collapse anything that was to do with Zack Snyder. And Famuyiwa became just a fodder in the, as well as Kiersey Clemons became, fodder in Jeff Johns' search to wipe out the Snyderverse as quickly as possible before it even happens, mainly because of probably what he did with Superman. And probably I can't see, if he was looking at it objectively, Famuyiwa is a very, very different kind of director from Zack Snyder. I think his vision would have been fresh, and I think people would have liked it. And to have a black director, for you to take out your only black director, you should have tried to hold on to him. And I think that was a big loss. And I think Kiersey Clemons will be a big loss as well. But having said that, we're going back to Kiersey Clemons now, and her support for Ray Fisher. So in the context of this, and probably Kiersey Clemons' relationship with Famuyiwa, you can possibly see that she probably would have had some, she would have had a lot of, knowledge, not only of what was happening on the set of Justice League with Joss Whedon, but she would have had a lot of knowledge of how Famuyiwa was taken off of the project that she was supposed to be on. And she probably got the phone call from Warner Brothers. I doubt she got it from Jeff Johns, saying Jeff Johns and John Berg they've got different ideas about where they want the Flash to go, and we're not sure about your future on the project anymore, Kiersey, since Famuyiwa has sadly had to leave. So again, this gives a lot of weight to the fact that something went on with Jeff Johns going on a huge power trip because of how offended he was by what Snyder had done. To be honest, I think Suicide Squad was okay. I thought it was quite good. I didn't like Man of Steel. I thought BVS was okay, but it was, Superman, what was going on with him in that movie? He doubled down on the darkness. It was a bad idea. Zack Snyder really had the opportunity to make something special. He didn't, unfortunately. But having said all that, that is no excuse, Jeff Johns, to start taking out people and to be very culturally insensitive about how you do it. You've got. It looks now I can almost guarantee Jeff Johns isn't racist. I've read his comics, and the way he depicts black people in the comics, the fact that he has very multicultural casts in a lot of his comics as well, where he does origin stories, the way he fleshed out the Shazam thing. So I don't